a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hi, everyone. Well, here's a question for you. Have you embraced your inner pirate lately? Okay, it's not my question, all right? That question was from today's guest. Time to meet Cheryl Brewster. Welcome to the show, Cheryl.
Thanks, Nancy.
What does that question mean?
Well, what it means is, are you living your unique self, living life on your terms, and following your inner sacred rebel? Because as we know, we all have these limiting beliefs and attachments to negative emotions. So the inner pirate comes along and says, hey, you don't have to live that way. It's like, let's get on this. Life is like Helen Keller said, life is a daring adventure or nothing at all.
Very good. Yeah. No, I know that that you used to work in the corporate world.
Yes.
At some point you left that and you started a whole new career.
I did.
Right. So what is that all about?
Well, the actual really cool story around that is loved my job, loved what I did, great company, great people. But when you've got something else inside of you, you've been there, done that, and now it's time to really open up to your creativity and open up to do what you really need to do. So it was a big decision and I struggled with it. And I kept seeing pirates on billboards or buses or commercials or whatever. And I thought, why is this is odd? And it became a symbol for me to have the courage to do what I knew intuitively I needed to do. So I did do that. I left the corporate world and founded the Intuitive Life. And ever since then, the synchronicity of pirates coming into my life has been unbelievable. I can tell you, I don't know how many stories. So we all have within us these muses or these archetypal energies that call us to more. And we do have everything we need, but we have to leave the old to create the new. And it takes tremendous courage to do that. So that was my story of how I got started and what I do, which I absolutely love, love, love. And supporting, individuals, entrepreneurs, business thought leaders in really paying attention to their intuition and that deep inner gritty work that is required to make this space for grace and working with the power of the unconscious mind. So we're limitless in what we can do. We're just on the forefront of really grasping and having the courage to go there.
Right. I think we're kind of brought up to not believe in our own intuition, right?
Yes. Yeah, not trust ourselves. I look back at, I think where we've all come from, and especially looking at the pandemic, we've just gone through incredible disruption. And so getting our feet back on solid ground and reinventing ourselves, these old systems just, many of them are not working. And so to trust ourselves in this process of change.
So do you basically help people who are running a business or in business?
Yes. I love working with entrepreneurs and business people. If we look at intuition as being the guiding force of success, as the guiding force of innovation and thinking outside the box, and using intuition in business really effectively, which is, taking that time out to be still and listen and give yourself time to think. I call it, especially I think our business leaders these days need that support. And if you're so busy putting out fires, where do you get time to just catch a breath and make sure you're doing the right things as opposed to, the emergency things? Where is there time to create a plan or to have vision?
Right. It's kind of interesting because it makes me think about, like, I know that some parents, when they have young kids, they've got their kids in dance and in martial arts and like a whole bunch of different things. And they rush home, they have a quick bite, and then off they go again. what are you teaching your children? Don't you think it should start there?
Absolutely. It should. I think we're just recognizing the massive consequences of what happens when we take the time to be in our own center. And I think a lot of parents are very frazzled right now. And, you know, are we really looking and planning strategically as families, or are we just, you know, overcome with all the responsibilities of parenthood? You know, parenting consciously does require that you put yourself first. And if you feel you don't have time to do that, that's what you're teaching your children.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get back to you helping businesses. So you have an entrepreneur or whatever it is. How do they find you, and what are they looking for?
Yeah, well, how they find me is word of mouth, my website, networking that I do in meeting people. An example of a typical client would be someone I just met with today. She's a therapist out of the States, and therapists, thought leaders need support to be effective. We all need support to be effective. So I think the biggest thing, I asked her today, okay, what is the value you get from working with me? And she said, we go deep and we come out the other side with clarity and a clear call to action. So what I do is create an atmosphere where my clients are participating in this intuitive discovery and having experiences. It's not just me talking to them or at them. It's they're participating in this. And it's transformative. It's very, very powerful.
Well, I would imagine so. I'm also kind of curious, like, you always knew you had something inside that you should be doing, right? But how did it manifest itself to you so that you knew you should be helping people like entrepreneurs, for instance?
It manifested actually as resistance, because and that's one of the things I specialize in. In fact, you know, I've got a program, a 3-month practicum called Stop Resisting Resistance, Embrace Your Inner Pirate. So how it manifested itself is it was hard when I first got this call. It was so hard to listen. Am I doing the right thing? Is this the right thing to do? You know, and how do you explain what's happening inside of you? And so that difficulty I went through is why I'm so passionate about helping people in business right now, because man, there's a lot of change in the world. And yes, you have to have your wits about you. And when you're going through change, it's like, how do you find solid ground? It can be very, what's the word? I was just speaking with another client today. She was describing how she feels she cannot find her center.
Right.
And all this fear that comes up, even though she's done things, it's like there's this massive fear that's coming up. And so where I encourage my clients is good, because that means that there's growth happening. And so when we judge resistance or we judge the fear, we keep ourselves in it. So the techniques and tools that we work with is, okay, what if we could create a different relationship with resistance? What if, and this is why I just love, you know, the characteristics of the pirate doesn't get caught up in all that stuff. It's using the humor, the courage, and the excitement of the possibilities to help move this emotion through, and to really honor the process rather than judge it or hate it. No, this is good. This is growth. So one of the expressions I have is, when we're talking about resistance, are you going to wallow, follow, or learn? And when we wallow, we're in victim consciousness. When we follow, we just get by. But when we learn, that is the transformative power of using negative emotion effectively to heal the heart. And when we do that, now all these terrible, I call it the hairball of the soul, all the stuff that comes up, we can actually be excited about it because it shows us something's moving.
Yeah, learning is exciting. right?
It is exciting. Yeah. So getting better at self-regulation tools that help us. What's so interesting is even things like panic can be a defense. Who would have thought that? But because panic, it's like, oh, but no, if you look at it, panic is a way of keeping you where you are. So what I love is helping people identify the unconscious patterns that keep them attached to these continual repetitive patterns. So, using hypnotherapy and working with the unconscious mind and timeline therapy, we can go in and move that quickly and effectively. No one needs to stay in the amount of suffering that we're used to staying in because we don't question it, or we think that we can't do anything about it.
Right. Now, you're a professional, intuitive, ordained minister of metaphysics, right? And what else? Where did I lost my spot here? Board certified NLP practitioner. What is NLP?
That stands for neuro-linguistic programming. So it's working with the unconscious mind. That's the only place that change takes place is in the unconscious mind. So the way we speak to ourselves. So it's creating new neural pathways so that this internal language can evolve through awareness, because we all have a critical voice. If we're not aware that critical voice is driving the bus, it's like we're not questioning it, and before you know it, we keep driving ourselves into the ditch.
Right. You're okay. So you do a timeline therapist and hypnotherapy.
Yeah, timeline is fascinating, and again, I'm so grateful for these tools. Intuition, imagination, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, they're all working like deep down inside with the things that we're not consciously aware of. So when we bring more consciousness to what we're not aware of, healing occurs. And the more we're bringing, one of the things that I appreciate about my work is recognizing our resistance to growing more conscious, our resistance simply to feeling the feelings that we feel. So, our call to courage then is that recognition that I am stronger than my feelings. And we've abdicated the throne when we allow our feelings to run us rather than the other way around. But, we're not taught these tools. No. And some of us are fortunate to have them. Others have them naturally, others not so much. And I was one of the people that didn't have that so much, which is why, this existential angst or pain that I was in, even as a young child, I knew there was more, but how do you find the more?
Yeah. And not knowing what that more is so confusing, isn't it, when you're a child?
It is, isn't it? I mean, I love what you're up to with your podcast here and bringing awareness to all of this. And, so I guess my question for you is, why do you do what you do? And when you go into that, it's like, oh, okay, there's something really important here.
Yeah. And it's like for me, the best way for me to describe it, and I tell people, it's like magic.
Yes.
The fact that you are willing to come on my show and talk about what you do, and then other people now I can share that and other people can see that, right? And that has a ripple effect, which is something I really like.
I know. And so when I read what you're up to, I thought, wow, isn't that great? When you find a passion and you do it just for the joy of it, that is magic, and it inspires that in other people. And I think that it's so important that we're all, doing our part, because when we clean up inside emotionally, it has a direct impact on the rest of the world. There's such a direct correlation there. So I think, again, too, it's so important right now with everything happening in the world, crazy, wild stuff. It's like, wait a minute, I'm going to stay in my center. I'm going to keep myself centered. And when I do that, then I can serve the world from a full cup. Then I can serve the world from a place of strength rather than a place of, panic or going into the worry of everything that's happening. Right. There's so much negative news out there.
All the time, yeah. I don't know why people assume we all want to hear the negative stuff, like media seems to like think that way, and I'm not, I want to hear the positive.
Yeah, there's an attraction again, I want to say, to the negative, and the news. Well, how much more wisdom is there in reporting on stories where this really terrible thing happened and this really wonderful thing happened as well. Both sides of the story, not just the one.
Not just the one, for sure. Yeah. Now you also, let's see, now you officiate at weddings as well as celebrations of life.
Yes, I do. I'm a people person, and so I'm really lucky because I love working in the business world, and I also have a passion for all things spiritual, as spiritual mentorship, which the celebration side of that are, performing weddings. I've got a celebration of life I'm doing this weekend, and working with families who've gone through loss and being able to really bring something special to that ceremony and that time together is very, very meaningful and powerful. And I, as part of this new program on resistance that I've created, I've got a calendar I've created. It's from the Stoic philosophy, which is about counting the days until your death. And it sounds morbid, but it's actually really powerful, because I look at in the infinity of space and time, right? When you think about the infinity of space and time, and this lifetime has a beginning and an end, this lifetime. So when you look at it, there's a limited quantity of time here, and I'm going to make the best of it. We don't get caught up in the mundane. We don't get caught up in the mediocre stuff. We don't lose our joy of life.
Yeah.
So that's why I love doing the celebrations of life, because it's like, okay, let's really celebrate this person.
And it's important for those people that have that loss, right, to have somebody that they can count on, or I'm not sure the right words are, that they can connect to for doing this with them, right? Which
exactly
you're doing.
Yeah, it's so healing. I love working with families. It's hard for them. It's so difficult. It's so hard. And so for me to be able to come along and just be that witness for them and be that support for them, so that, they want so much to do the best for their loved one. And that's what we create. They can feel so good about the send-off that they created for their loved one.
Right. I always tell people, my family included, like, when I die, I don't want people like having this really sad, play that song up, Cows with Guns or Fish Heads, and have a party. Be radical, have a party, have some fun. Right?
Well, that's what I love about this service on that I'm doing this weekend. This was a man who loved life, and he just wore goofy socks and tie-dye t-shirts and just made the world a better place. And as I was preparing, the eulogy and working with his daughter, I said, you know what? I'm so inspired by your dad. I'm just like, I'm so inspired to keep doing what I'm doing, because, how lovely to be touched so profoundly by someone you never met. And that's the ripple effect that I just honor that man who created magic in his life.
Right. So cool.
People remember that.
Yeah, so cool. Now, you obviously don't have a 9-to-5 job. So, so what do you do in your time off?
My time off. Well, I tend to like my work so much, I don't create a lot of time off because it's so much fun. But when I do have time off, I'm fortunate to live very close to the ocean. So I love to go down there and just spend time in nature. I love to read. I love to learn. And, I'm a student of the universe. Love to read, especially things related to spirituality and psychology. And personal effectiveness. That's
Mhm.
that's my jam.
That's your jam. That's pretty cool. Yeah. I don't know if I've touched on everything. I sure hope I did. I'm just trying to, I've been, in case people are wondering, I've been looking at your bio, and I did do some highlighting of some of the things I wanted to make sure I got in there. But no, obviously you have humor and you like to use humor in what you do, right?
Absolutely. Humor heals. And I think that if we all just kind of took a chill pill and just went, wait a minute, how is this feeling for me right now? Is it working? And to have the audacity to say, I'm going to feel good about where I am right here, right now.
Mhm.
And to really claim, I want to say the personal empowerment that we have in choosing to have an open heart, in choosing to know that even though this situation may be very difficult, that when we're willing to learn, it's all about learning. We see things we couldn't see before, and we don't take life so personally, and we have a lot more fun when we live that way.
That's right. I love to have fun. That's my jam.
Yes, I can tell.
Oh, it's been really great speaking with you. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, because again, I know you live in a busy, you have a busy life. So you mentioned that you do have a website, right?
Yes.
I don't know if I have it, but I'll get it after the show.
It's theintuitivelife.com.
Nice and simple for people, theintuitivelife.com. Okay, I'll make sure I include that. And people can find you on Facebook as well. Is that okay for them to approach you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm on Facebook, and so is my Intuitive Celebrations on Facebook is the link for my officiating weddings and memorials and yeah, so I'm thank you for inviting me. I love what I do, and I love the joy that people have in overcoming obstacles and stepping out into their own creativity. And one of my favorite quotes I always have behind me, it's what propelled me way back in the day. I had it sitting on my desk corporately, which is by Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you've imagined.
Very nice. And on my side, I love speaking to a person who loves what they do and who gets enjoyment out of what they're doing. So it's always a high, a natural high, for me to speak to somebody who like you, who enjoys what they're doing. So that's really great. Now stay on camera. I'm just going to say goodbye to the audience. So
Sure.
You've been listening to Cheryl Brewster. Now I'm going to include her information. So if you're a person, you think you need that help, you have these blocks. A lot of times we do, we don't always realize we do, but just take some time, as she said, a quiet time, and think about it. And if you need that help, she'll be, she's there for you. So you can always contact her. In the meantime, feel free to subscribe. I am a soft sell. I don't believe I'm in a hard sell with anybody, but at least, keep watching the show. I appreciate that too. So take care, everybody, and peace out.
A sense of community, till the wax a place to be. A sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.